So Doug, thanks so much for coming to talk to my students today. We're really excited because they've all heard about the Daily Table case study, and now you're here in real life, so thank you for being here.
It's great to be here.
So take yourself back, I guess it's been almost 10 years now, when you first came up with the idea for Daily Table. What questions did you feel you needed to answer in order to develop your idea further?
Yeah, well, as you may remember, this started off in a completely 180-degree direction different from where it ended up. So I started off with this idea that I'd spent my career in the food industry. Mm-hmm. And when I graduated from Trader Joe's, I went and did this fellowship at Harvard for a couple of years to really kind of study social change, and I wanted to deal with this issue of hunger. Mm. And so my first idea was, I saw there were billboards where 1 in 6 Americans are hungry. So, hey, I'm going to lean into and help get food to food banks, because they're out there and they'll distribute it. Yeah. And it must be that food banks don't have enough food. So if I get more food to food banks, they'll be able to take care of the problem in hunger. And what I thought was that we got all this bread and these other products at grocery mm-hmm. that is at or just past its code date, but perfectly healthy. And so having spent my career in the food industry, understanding that code dates really are so misunderstood by people, I thought, this is what we'll do. And it ends up that to cut to the chase, when you start researching that, you realize two things. One, that a large part of the population that really struggles with nutritional insecurity, with food insecurity, won't use a food bank, won't use a food pantry. Mm. They're embarrassed and ashamed, and they don't want to hand out. It's like 40% of the population. So wow. It's a huge number. So that's the first big gap in well, that's not going to take care of the problem. Second gap in the problem is that the food banks themselves are models that they themselves don't go out and meet all the people. So in other words, most of them end up supplementing, but not actually feeding people. There'll be like a basket or a bag that would supplement. So then it was like, okay, well, what can we do? We've got, at that time, it was in 2010, we have, 49 million Americans that are, quote, hungry. So we know who the customer is in the sense that these 49 million that are food or nutritionally insecure. But then what I thought they needed turned out not to be what they needed. So I had to pivot. And then when I pivoted, I thought...
They don't want free food and handouts, and they don't want empty calories like bread.
Yeah. And so, in other words, what they really want and need is they want to have fresh fruits and vegetables and clean dairy and protein. They want to have things that tasted good or were good for them. And so then, how do I do that? And that became part of the exploration. And then the other side of it was to learn that turns out what is the delivery mechanism to do that was different than I thought it would be. So originally at the time in 2010, there was a lot of energy in America around grocery stores going into what are called food deserts. So in other words, the whole problem will be solved if we just can get grocers to go back into the inner cities and to go back into food deserts. And so, as we now know from studies that have happened, that actually won't solve the problem.
It won't?
And there's studies by Stanford and others that show that when you drop a grocery store into an inner city, that you come back 3 years later and find out that the amount of produce consumed is exactly the same as it was before the grocery store was there.
Because
Why?
It's too expensive?
Exactly. Because it turned out the next big awakening was that this customer, it isn't that they don't know where and they can't get the food. It's not like they're in a food desert and I can't find anything. Like I don't know where the water is in the desert. They're surrounded by food. The problem is most of it is calorically dense but nutritionally poor, right? It's sugary and processed foods. But second is almost all of them can find where produce is. But when they go, it's too expensive.
I'll never forget when I moved to the US for graduate school 15 years ago, and I realized like each cucumber costs $1 or each head of lettuce. So if I was going to buy a bag of lettuce or a bunch of cucumbers, it was like $3 or $4. And then I would see the signs all around me where I could get a whole meal, like a burger and fries and a shake for less than that amount.
Yeah, it's exactly. And so when you come back to this idea of, all right, well, what is hunger then? And then second, how do we go to tackle it? It turns out for most people, it wasn't just access, it was economics. And then economics itself wasn't enough because the original plan was, all right, we'll open up these grocery stores that are going to be hunger relief agencies that masquerade as a corner food market. Because people will come in and they'll shop, but the prices will be so low, it'll be kind of like, if I could use the phrase, the TJ Maxx of food.
Okay, yeah, I like that
so
idea.
TJ Maxx has about 85% of their clothing.
So that's just like any discount clothes store for those who don't know TJ Maxx.
It's a discount clothes store. It's a chain in America where 85% of their goods are excess inventory, last year's fashion,
that people want to get rid of.
They want to get rid of, but still they're perfectly good clothing. But people come in and pay, significantly less than they would if they went somewhere else.
I should go there more often, actually. I think they're good deals.
So I think that, so the idea would be, what if we opened up a, quote, TJ Maxx of food, if you would?
Yeah.
That would be taking product that was excess inventory, maybe imperfect produce, and product that was shortened code, and we offered it super cheap. So then people come in, they bought it, they went home, they cooked, and like, okay, now we got the problem solved. Well, turns out not so fast, because most of the food insecure in America are working. And they're the working food insecure, and as a result, they don't have any time
to go home and cook.
Yeah. So when we did focus groups, that was the key thing was to get as close to your customers as you can, learn as much from them as you can, because one of the key challenges, I almost ran down the road to solve the wrong problem. I could have done a brilliant solution to the wrong question, so to say, the wrong problem. So instead, we did focus groups and asked, what do you think about this idea? And they went, well, not really going to be that helpful. I mean, it'd be sort of helpful, but if I have to come in, get all this stuff, and go home and cook it, 5 nights out of the week, that doesn't help me. And it's like, why not? Because I've worked 2 or 3 jobs that day. I'm at minimum wage, whatever. I get off the bus at 6:30 at night. When I get home, my kids have been out of school for hours. They're hungry. If I'm not walking through the door with with dinner in my hand, there's trouble.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if I can get my meal from you that's no more expensive than what I'd be paying for at the fast food spots, et cetera, but was going to be good for them, but had to taste good, had to be convenient. So we opened up a kitchen commissary then in our plans. And so when we did open, we have a kitchen commissary that creates everything from entrees to soups to salads to smoothies to sandwiches and all that stuff, priced cheaper than fast food in the neighborhood, but all meet nutritional guidelines set by, Harvard School of Public Health and others. So that was, again, an aha moment that came out of interacting with a customer around, well, what is there in iterating with them? Which is that whole process, a lot of innovation is really just iteration.
Yeah.
And so it's around taking an idea, which is, the core of it was a good idea, but then by collaborating with your customer, your potential customer, finding out, okay, that was almost on the mark, but not quite. And then this was almost, and then you finally can get to a spot where you go, here's what I think they really want. And so that's the process we used.
So, okay, you mentioned focus groups. Now, I keep telling students, talk to as many people in any way as you can. So individual one-on-one conversations are probably what most people will do, but then focus groups, tell me more, what does that mean and how did you actually go about doing them? Yeah,
focus groups is sort of, to me, a catch-all phrase for lots of ways to engage with the community. So we did everything from church groups to asking could we be present during some of their neighborhood community. They had what's called Bold Teens, which is around a group of teenagers that are going around trying to get liquor and cigarette signage off of the liquor stores, because it was promoting, they thought, unhealthy behavior. So we said, well, listen, next time you have a meeting, can we come present, because I want to hear what the community says about this. So I went down, and I probably did 15 or 20 different meetings in the community like that. That then also led us to the fact, let's see if we can't also more professionally. So we had an organization that was working with us called Next Street Financial, and Next Street was partnering with us. And they said, listen, we got somebody that's run focus groups. We can run some focus groups. So we went out to the communities that we had been meeting with and said, hey, how'd you like to get a couple, residents in the community, come on by we'll pay them $50 or whatever it is, come on by and give us their opinions about stuff. And so, yeah, sure. So we did, I think, 4 focus groups. And then we felt at that point we pretty much had what we needed to know. Among the other things they told us was, hey, by the way, don't make your store means tested. In other words, means tested means only poor people should shop there.
Oh, okay.
In other words, everybody needs to feel comfortable here or else I'm not going to feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's only poor people can shop there, then I'm going to be embarrassed shopping there because then, you shop at the poor store. So it's through the focus groups that really reconfirmed the idea we had that, hey, this store should be for everybody.
Okay, so it sounds like focus groups could mean a lot of different things. Like there's the academic professional version where you hire someone that has been trained in that methodology, and it sounds like sometimes you pay the participants for their time, and then that has a very structured flow.
Yep.
And then, but you can also just convene with groups of people in a less formal academic way, where you go to where they are and where they're already meeting and try to talk to them as a group.
Yeah, and I found personally that's more valuable than, SurveyMonkey, or, send out, an email blast to, somebody's
Asking
mailing list, ask
questions,
questions.
yeah.
It's just, you tend to not get the same quality of responses, and they aren't follows up. You can't iterate on the question, which is sometimes where the real nuggets come out of the second or third iteration of the question, and someone says something, you go, aha, So I think that I'm not such a fan of surveys when it's around strategic or structural. If it's like, do you like chocolate or do you like vanilla, maybe you can do that. But if it's around, should we do oat milk ice cream, it might be a different thing.
Yeah, because I think developing your idea further is less about getting data points and more about just discussing and understanding your customer. So when you were talking to people, whether through focus groups or other group discussions, was there any one comment or something someone said that really stuck with you and changed how you look at your idea?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you quite honestly, the name came out of a focus group. The name Daily Table wasn't one I picked.
How did that happen?
Well, we asked them a whole group of different names, and we had like probably 8 or 10 different names there. And the community basically rejected all of them. Thought, no, that doesn't sound right. Oh no, I wouldn't go there. That sounds too healthy, too this, too elitist. One person literally said, that's a whiter than white name. I'd expect that to be up in Chestnut Hill, not down here. And then there was this kind of combination they came up with for Daily Table, and we'd have something else, the good table, and this one, and that, and blah, 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 and they had daily this and daily food, and they kind of went, Daily Table, we like that. And it's like, oh, what do you like about that? Well, first of all, it sounds fresh, like every day. Second, like give us this day. It has this religious connotation, which the communities we serve tend to be higher religious participation. Mm-hmm. And then the final was, tables are nostalgic. It turns out many of our customers don't have a table.
Oh.
They literally don't have a dining room table at all. And so to them, it's a memory of a good time when they used to gather around and eat around a table. So a daily table is an aspirational, something I wouldn't have thought of, frankly. So it was, so that's the one that honestly sticks with me, is the idea of the name of the organization itself came out of a pretty much impassioned comment by one of the participants in a focus group.
Wow. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think I just simply add that I think I'm living proof that it's never too late to enter into social entrepreneurship and to do something, but it doesn't mean someone should wait till then. So if you don't need 40 years of knowledge in the food industry to be able to go off and do wonderful things in the social space, I think that having any kind of knowledge and experience is a good thing to build on, because ultimately much of the knowledge I had I got from customers in the communities. Even though I'd been in the food industry for 40 years, I had a lot to learn. So I think that whatever gap you have in that knowledge, there's places to go to get it. And as a good entrepreneur, you're going to be honest with yourself, kind of that, what is it, Socrates said, the unimagined life isn't worth living. No, the unexamined life isn't worth living. So having that self-knowledge about I know this, but I'm short here, I think is really critical.
I feel like there were so many lessons in there for students. Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks.